This is one of the most difficult assignments, but if you did one of the past assignments, then it should make things a lot easier. It all comes down to really these three main points. So we have the y-intercept, which is our starting point, and one of the key things at starting point is remember that x equals 0. So it was easy when we're given the graph, which speaking of which, you can always just graph these and look at the graph. But notice the x is 0 for the starting point. So if you ever want to know the starting value, you got to just plug in a 0 for the x or 0 for the t, whatever the input is. And then the ending value, remember that the y is 0 for the ending value. And then we have our vertex, which is the minimum or the maximum. Now the hardest part is if they want to know what the min or the max is, that would be the y value. And it occurs at the x value. So the when/where is the x value. Excuse my handwriting. All right, so let's take a look at one of these problems. So what is the height of the object at the time of launch? I skipped all the other stuff. They're just going right to the bold question. So time of launch is telling me initial value, the starting point. So when the input's 0. So all I have to do to find that y-intercept is make the x 0. And I'll get 45. So 45 meters. Like I said, you can always just pull up the graph, enter this into the graph, and just see where it is on the y-axis. That will always work. All right, what would the company's profit be if the app price is $0? So now we got to think a little bit more here. It's not straight up asking what could be asking the y-intercept or the x-intercept. So what is the price? Is it the input or the output? So at price. So it says the company's annual profit as a function of the app's price. So of, the thing that follows the word of is usually the input value. In other words, that one. So the app price is the x. So if the x value is 0, so this is really the same question. So P of 0 is -2 times 0 minus 3 times 0 minus 11. And that does make sense. It would be that initial price. So that would be 66, I think negative 66, if I did that right. All right, moving on. How many seconds after diving will Anna hit the water? So whenever I see this, I'm picturing going up in the air, right? Diving, and you come back down. So when you hit the water is that x-intercept. So what are the two x-intercepts? Well, -1. So it's that ending value, right, when you hit the water, and 3. Now, this would mean she's negative seconds, she's going back in time. That doesn't make sense. So 3 would be when she hits the water. How many seconds after being thrown will a stone reach the maximum height? So if you think of this is asking the maximum, which would be right here. Now, is it asking for the x or the y? Remember, if it's asking for the max, that's the y. But if it's asking for when or where, then it's asking for the x. So this is saying how many seconds after being thrown will reach the maximum height. So we know the x values. The x-intercepts are 8 and -4. So to come up with that vertex, all we need is the x value because it's just asking how many seconds after being thrown. So asking when. So the x value for that vertex is just taking the two x-intercepts, adding them and dividing by 2. So we're going to take that 8 plus -4 and divide it by 2. And I get 2. So if you want to know what the actual maximum height was, we'd plug it back in. But this doesn't ask us for that, it asks us when. It asks for how many seconds after. what is the maximum height? So now this is an example of, hey, what is the max? Just straight up find the maximum. So this time it's the y value. So we're going to go ahead and start with the vertex, the x coordinate. Well, let's do the x-intercepts first, 8 and -4. I think it's the same function, so that helps us out. So that x for the vertex, same as the last one. So now to plug it in for the y value for the vertex, just plugging it in for the x's to that original function here. I don't know why I put -2. So just plugging that into those x's is what I'm doing now. And that's 5 times 6 times 6. It's 180. So that actual height was 180. Right here, what current will produce the maximum power? So it's not asking what is the maximum power, it's saying what current would produce it. So here, 0 is one x-intercept, 8 is the other. So the x for the vertex, we just add those two up, divide by 2, and you would get 4. So that's the idea there.